Ella,
Hey, Troy, was this remind me, was this the best number to call? The home number?
is this Dr. Saturday Night?
It is Dr. Saturday Night. Thank you.
Yeah, this is good. This
Uh,
is the good number.
uh,
And I thought it was 7 o'clock. I broke my
oh,
neck to get home here because we got snow out everywhere.
uh, I thought it
And
was
I got here and
7:30.
I was knocking people over at the grocery store just to get home. Literally, I shoved people down.
Some old ladies.
She was like she was in her 70s. She wasn't that old.
Oh,
But
God,
she was putzing around trying to count her pennies, and I just shoved. I said, "Get out of the way! I got to do an interview with Dr. Saturday Night."
Oh, I am so sorry. No, I thought for some reason.
And it was
I swear it was 7:30.
no. You put it. I went back and found the text. It did say 7:30, but I in my mind I thought 7 for some reason.
Well, I'm sorry. Hopefully the grocery. We'll make this fast. The grocery store will still be
No,
open.
no, I'm home now.
Hey,
I'm good. I did everything I needed to do. I'm
oh,
home
good
now.
man. Well, listen. Let me welcome you as tonight's celebrity guest star. Tonight is all things Troy, all things Vogue. So you are Vogues. You are the lead and baritone vocals.
Leader of the pack. Yeah, I sing lead on most of the songs. Yeah.
For the past quarter century. What?
Yeah. Can you believe that? That's,
No, I mean, I'm surprised. Are you surprised? Does it feel like it's been that long?
no.
No.
No, because I remember my first gig. That was 25 years ago already. Was at the Garrett County Fair in McHenry, Maryland. We had to do three or four shows. I don't remember, but they were half-hour shows. People would come into this big tent. We would do a half hour, then they would leave. Then we'd have like an hour off, or maybe longer. I can't remember. And then another group would come in, and we'd do a half hour. That was my first gig. It was a Wednesday.
Do you
It
remember?
was a Wednesday.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if that would that be your first paid gig, and if so, do you remember how much you made?
Well, first paid with the Vogues. Yeah, I mean, I had a wedding band before that for years. I did that for 9 years. I played every wedding, and I played every fraternal organization. I played the Moose. I played the Elks. I played the Eagles. I played the American Legion. You name it, I was there. So I'm going to think that I made, for the Vogue gig, I think I made $150. Maybe 175.
Probably not bad, right?
Yeah, it's 20. Yeah, I don't know what that would be comparable to now. Maybe 300, 350. I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think? So obviously your father was in the group. So what?
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, what do you think? Had none of that happened, other than being on the desk, perhaps at ESPN, what do you think? What do you think you'd be doing?
Hopefully, yeah, something probably sports related. But you know what? I was in air traffic control school whenever the job came up. You know, so that's what I was studying because I was always intrigued by aviation. I still can't understand how they stay in the sky, but I'm glad they do. But so that's what I was actually. But I've had people for years and years say, "Boy, you'd have been great on the radio. Man, you'd have been a great, sports talk guy." It just didn't happen. And the job came open with the Vogues,
And you had to, it's not just as simple as, well, my dad's in the group. You had to full out audition for that.
oh, I sure did, because you can't be you got to know what you're doing, right? So I can't embarrass my dad. And I don't want to be the kid that's in the group because his dad owns the group, right? So that's, you got to carry your weight. You got to know what you're doing. And I listened to those tapes to this day, because what they did was they gave me tapes of the show, and then they would isolate the vocal that I was going to replace. So I could hear that if I turned the balance all the way to the right or left. I can't remember now. So I would hear just that vocal part, and then when you put it back to the middle, you've heard that vocal part, with the band. So you could, but my point is, on certain songs, I can still hear in my head the voice that I learned from, to make sure that I, hit a note right. If we're coming in maybe out of a rest where there's no music and you have to keep that note in your head, I can still hear that 25 years later, because I listened to those every waking moment, because I had to make sure that I was going to be perfect. I could not possibly let the act down. I mean, it was that was my job, was to sing that part, and I couldn't not be ready to do it. I had a date that I had to be ready, and I had to know those songs on that date, and I did.
Unbelievable. So for a period of time, you had the opportunity to perform with your father. You used to, although let's back up a little bit, you used to watch him on stage, and then, and then bam, you're in the group. And what's, though, in fact, those of you today that performed both with your father and now with you, say it's, I'll use the word eerie, a carbon copy, so he would have been, I feel like it was 24 and you were 24 and they kind of look and go, you know what, same thing.
Yeah, it's sure. Yeah, I was 20. I think you're right. I think I was 24. And my wife, well, she's my wife now. She was my girlfriend then. And she would always say, how come all your friends are, at that time, how come all your friends are 60 or 65? Now she says that, how come all your friends are 78, And I said, because that's who I'm around all the time. So I was 24, but everybody I was working with was 50 to, at that time, I guess, 25. They're mostly in their 70s. Yeah, probably late 40s, early 50s back then. Yeah, why are all your friends? I'd introduce her to somebody that I've talked about so many times, and I guess in her mind it must have been somebody near my age, and she'd meet them, and they were 60.
Right. So
all your friends are 60.
Yeah, your father passed in 2010. Do you, as you go on stage, do you have a moment? Do you ever feel like you look around and go, you know what? I feel him. If it's his spirit, maybe, or
every night.
Do you really?
Yeah, and I wear his cologne. I mean, not for the longest time. I still had the bottle that he had when he passed. I still have it, but it's almost empty. Yeah. But I don't want to throw it away. But I wear his cologne, his Paul Sebastian, and I give a couple squirts. And my drummer, who's been with us for almost that same amount of time, when he'll smell me like in the wings, and he'll go, "Oh, I can smell Stan. I smell Stan. Your dad's here," So yeah, that, and I carry his wallet with me in my briefcase all the time. So
absolutely precious.
So he's there still. His scent and his wallet is with us anyway.
So the Vogues, no big surprise. There are 4 gold records now, as defined. I think back then, and correct me if I'm wrong.
It's 1 million.
Is that what it is? A gold?
Yeah, that's what it was then. I think it's 500,000 now. Back then, you had to sell 1 million records to get a gold record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 2 platinum albums. And what would that have been?
Oh, boy, good question.
A bunch.
Yeah, I don't know, 10 million maybe? Because one of them was the Good Morning Vietnam, so that was like a compilation album, and that was a huge movie, and the soundtrack was a top-selling movie soundtrack. So that was one of the platinum albums. That's a good question. I should Google it. I mean, I have my phone right here. This is not good for radio. I'm going to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about here.
Just outside, and by the way, in the interest of full disclosure, I grew up in...
Might be 25 million. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're kidding. That's...
10 or 25 is platinum. And then there's double platinum is 50 million, I think. I don't know. One of your listeners will know, and they'll call in and tell you.
Absolutely ridiculous. In the interest of full disclosure, I grew up in central Pennsylvania, and the Vogues began, just outside Pittsburgh? Does that sound right?
Yeah, Turtle Creek, and about 20 miles east of Pittsburgh.
Oh. And
where did you grow up in central Pennsylvania?
I would I would say Altoona, only because no one knows where Tyrone is. But that,
No, I know where Tyrone is.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, there's a theater there. Boy, I can't remember. Is there? I can't remember if that's. Do they have a Palace? Everybody's got a Palace Theater. There is a venue in Tyrone, but I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, years ago they had 2 theaters, like the Wilson Theater and the maybe the Palace or something. So maybe
I can't remember. Everybody's got a Palace. Every city has a Palace Theater or a Paramount. There's Paramount theaters. You tell somebody you played the Paramount, they're like, "Oh my God, that's big time!" And I'm like, "There's 75 of them around the country. It's not like there's just one."
So the group from the mid '60s through the '70s were literally, anywhere in coast to coast, you'd be hearing the Vogues. You turn on the television, whether it was black and white or color, depending. You're on the Ed Sullivan Show. You're on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, the Mike Douglas Show, multiple times with Dick Clark's iconic American Bandstand, and even the Smothers Brothers. So this would have been a little bit before you, but I mean that history is still there. Right? That's.
Oh, sure. Now, I got a chance. I worked with the Smothers Brothers. We did a week with them, but that was not the TV show. But, yeah, I know. Sure. Yeah, they did. They were on TV quite a bit. They were as big as anything, really, from like 65 to like 68, 69. I mean, for a short run is basically what it was. There was a lot of hit songs in that short little, 4-year period where they were, pumping out the big hits. I mean, it was pretty impressive run that they had there in a short amount of time.
I lived in Central California, went to see the Tonight Show one time live in the audience, and the guests were, of course, the Smothers Brothers. So there's that. First hit landed number 4, 1965 on the charts. Written, this blows my mind for a lot of reasons. Written by Petula Clark. Okay, so the song is "You're the One." Right. It was recorded at the Gateway Studios in Pittsburgh, and not far from Turtle Creek.
Market Square, right downtown. Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Right in the city.
Literally still there.
No, Market Square is still there. That's where the studio, Gateway Studios, was in Market Square, which is still there, but there's shops and restaurants there now. The studio's not there anymore.
Radio station KQV was very first to play the song. Then Detroit, then San Diego, and bam, it's national in September of 1965. So here's what blows my mind, among other things. Warner Brothers wanted, the record label wanted Petula Clark to also release the very same song. And I love this. The code of ethics, the guardrails that, back then she said, what? She's like, no. And I think, quote unquote, she said, let the boys have the hit. That is insane to me.
She had enough. She didn't need any more. She felt pity on their souls, and thank God.
Is that particular song a fan favorite live, or?
Oh yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, those are all. That's kind of a sing-along almost. When you do that one, you see everybody's mouth in the audience moving along with you.
Is there well, we'll get to that in a minute maybe, but is there a particular song that is what would your encore be? I guess we'll ask it.
We never do. We hardly ever do one because our audience, when the show ends, they get up and leave. Okay. So, it's embarrassing because because we don't. They're not going to wait when the show. They have to go to the bathroom or get home and take their pills, whatever. Oh, yeah. So when we walk off the stage, they leave. We learned that a long time ago. So we don't do encores. They'll always ask us, the stage manager or somebody will say, "Is there an encore?" No. When we leave, we're done. So it would be "You're the One" is what we close with. So that's the last song of the night. So when we do that, we're done.
1965, no surprise, was a ridiculously huge year for the band. "You're the One" is quickly followed by another smash hit, 5 O'Clock World, and it was a top 5 single. You want to weigh in on that, either whether it's performing or audience response, or is that one you do lead on?
Yeah, I sing both of them. "You're the One" and 5 O'Clock World. Now, I think it's the most recognizable Vogue song because it was the theme song to the Drew Carey Show, which was very successful, and it was in the movie Good Morning Vietnam, which was a big deal. It was also in the movie Big Fish with Ewan McGregor, which is a really underrated. Danny DeVito's in that as well. A really underrated movie, but it's in that too. So, it has the yodel. Yep. Well, there's not a lot of pop songs with yodels in it.
It's so
true.
But it
has
it really worked.
Yeah. It has the hook. It has the 12-string acoustic at the beginning, and it gives the impression that these guys are working and they're grunting in the background, and it's a song that everybody can relate to. Everybody has to go to work and try to make a living, and there's my favorite line, my favorite lyric, I think, in music history and everybody can relate to it, is the line in 5 O'Clock World where he says, "Trading my time for the pay I get, I'm living on money that I ain't made yet." What a line, right?
Oh.
Who hasn't been there
God.
where you're just robbing Peter to pay Paul to keep the lights on or whatever?
Oh, an absolutely amazing song out about the time. Would that have been Vietnam, 65?
Yeah, it came out in late 65, and I think it peaked in 66. So, yeah, you're getting into well, like I said, it was in Good Morning Vietnam, so I guess that doesn't mean it. You know what, though? We get so many Vietnam vets that come to the shows and say, boy, I can remember listening to your music, when I was over in Vietnam. So I don't imagine they were listening to My Special Angel or Turn Around Look at Me, probably. Maybe they were, but I think it was probably the earlier hits.
So that was in, correct me if I'm wrong, around 97 maybe, that was on the Drew Carey?
Yeah, 90 or 98 to
was it?
2000 maybe, or 97 to 99. It was 2 seasons.
Okay.
And then when they canceled or stopped doing their show, we flew out and we did the rap party for the Drew Carey rap party in I can't remember what year that was, 2003 or 4. I think there's pictures on our website of us with Drew Carey. But that was in Hollywood at the Highlands. They brought us out as a surprise for the rap party, and that was pretty cool. And he didn't know we were going to be there. That was excellent. They had a curtain down, and the MC says, boy, you guys had 3 different theme songs, and this group from Pittsburgh flew all the way in tonight just to be with you. And the curtain lifted, and then we did 5 O'Clock World. And that was the first time we saw the audience. We didn't know. I mean, we knew the cast and crew would be there, but I'm looking out, and there's Dr. Phil, there's Jerry Springer, there's Wayne Brady. I'm thinking, I'm like in awe. I'm looking around the room thinking, I can't believe this. All these these big stars. I'm trying to think of the one girl's name. She's really pretty, and I can't think of her name right now. But she was on Dharma and Greg. She was she was the female co-star.
Oh, yeah.
But she was there, and I'm just like, it's like a pinch me type of situation. This is too good to be true.
Now, so the band, sorry, did you say Turtle Creek, right?
Yeah, well, here people in Pittsburgh say Crick.
Okay, yeah.
Crique, but yeah, it's Turtle Creek, but we all say Crick, Turtle Creek.
Yeah, I only say that because I'm wondering, based on I grew up in Pennsylvania, so I can detect a slight accent. Where in Pennsylvania did you grow up?
About 25 miles southwest of the city, so you have to.
Okay.
Turtle Creek is 20 miles east, so you'd have to go through the city from where I am now, and another 50 miles or so is Turtle Creek. I'm kind of a little closer to the Pittsburgh airport area.
Mm-hmm. So can I make the assumption you are as they would say in Pennsylvania, Steelers fan?
I am a Stiller fan. I'm a little upset with them right now.
Yeah, no.
But that's going to wear off, and I'll go back to being a Stiller fan, yes.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, for the last 25 years, I've been a Colts fan, and it's been awful.
Well, you guys had some good years, though, with the Peyton Manning, and you won a Super Bowl, and Andrew Luck had some nice teams there, but, it's not. They beat the Steelers this year.
Oh, by the way, someone in chats reminds us, so I'm recording this, then I'll edit it up, add some music, and play it in the program. We just happen to be live right now, and the comment is, her name is Jenna Elfman.
Oh, that's it. Yes, Jenna Elfman. Yeah, God, I was like, oh my God, there's Jenna Elfman. What am I going to do? I guess I have to just keep singing my song. What was I supposed to do, right? But yeah, Jenna Elfman. I always thought she was really pretty. And as I'm looking around the crowd, then I'm like, oh, there's Jenna Elfman. That was pretty big. It was a pretty big moment. I didn't want to puke all over myself or anything.
1966. Now we're talking Land of Milk and Honey, which lands also in the top 20. Big.
Yeah, correct. And Magic Town was in 66. Are you going to get to that one, or are we skipping that?
No,
that was the bigger hit.
Oh, actually, no. I for some reason I wrote 67 for that.
Magic Town and Milk and Honey were 66. Those were both recorded in Nashville. That's what sets them apart from all the rest.
You are you know sports, so obviously you know music. So
I got to know the Vogue stuff. I think it's kind of important. I know that anyway.
All right, how about this? Special Angel, was that 68?
Yes.
Okay. Went in the top, actually not even top 10, went to number 7, 10,
Right.
7. But I mean, a big, big deal. You think of all the people that were on in the top 100, all those acts, the Stones, I mean, number 7, that's freaking huge.
Pretty good.
No, it's great.
And it was number 1 on the adult contemporary charts. And then we'll get to, I imagine we're going to cover Turnaround here at some point, because that,
Next.
so I don't want to spoil my tidbit of information.
No, transition right into that.
But real quick, before we go to that, in '66, the songs that were all recorded in Nashville, it's worth mentioning, a very young Duane Allman was a sessions musician in Nashville, and he played on a lot of those songs, but as far as, unfortunately, the record keeping is lousy. And there are pictures that I have, and I've got to find them, but I have them. I can verify that I've seen the pictures of the Vogues dressed in their typical sort of nerdy clothes in the studio, and there's Duane Allman with long hair and bell bottoms, and looks like he hasn't shaved for several days, and a big, long, heavy, oversized T-shirt, and they're all studying sheet music together. So I know that he played on the Nashville sessions, but nobody seems to remember which songs he played on. So he may or may not be on Magic Town and Milk and Honey on guitar.
Oh, no kidding. But also,
so I think that's a neat little tidbit there. Duane Allman, of all people, right? I mean, he couldn't be further from a Vogue kind of person.
Well, I was going to say that photograph in and of itself, the clash of cultures, right?
Yes, sure. Yes, exactly.
Turn around. Go right ahead. 1968, number 5. Actually, number 1 in Canada too. That
was my tidbit. Anytime we're in Canada or up at the border, I always tell the good people up there, I say, and it was number 1, and then I pause because they think I'm going to say number 1 in the world or number 1 and then I say in Canada, and thank you to my Canucks, and they all applaud. Yeah, that was my tidbit. Number 1 in Canada.
Huge song. I mean, what do you think was? I say bigger. Forget the records. Forget the charts. How do you think the crowd responds to? I'll just pick 2: 5 O'Clock World and Turn Around, Look at Me. Obviously different. One very lush, orchestral, slower. Yeah. The other one, not so much. But I mean,
right. Turn Around always gets an applause as soon as we start. My Special Angel does too. Usually, Turn Around always does. As soon as we start the verse and they recognize the song, we'll get a big applause. And it always usually gets a big standing O at the end. And then Bob Cowsill claims, I hope he's listening to this, or I'm going to tell him to listen to this. He thinks that I milk it too long.
Bob Cowsill, did you say?
Yeah, from the Cowsills.
It's funny you should say that. He and I
Did you have him?
No, we exchanged some emails today about a time next week. I had reached out to his sister Susan, whatever, but yeah.
So I want you to tell him when you have him on.
Yeah.
Say now, Troy from the Vogues says that you think he milks the ending, the applause at the end of "Turn Around, Look at Me," and he's such a nice guy. He's probably going to say, "Oh no, I don't," but he does. He loves to tell me, "Boy, you really, really milk that." I said, "Bob, what do you want me to do? Start talking again?" And you want me to cut off the applause? If they're applauding, I'm going to let them applaud, right? I mean. I don't know what am I supposed to do?
As you look out, you must just see teary eyes, hugs, arms around each other.
Sometimes, all of the above.
Right?
Sometimes it's joyous. Sometimes there's tears. Sometimes, maybe it was somebody's song and maybe that other person isn't with us anymore. And sometimes it takes them back to the high school prom or their wedding song or, whatever.
But it's truly a memorable and nostalgic moment for sure. Yeah. Listen, you must be enjoying your time at home. You have a very aggressive touring schedule coming up. Yes?
It is aggressive. That's a good word to use.
You have
downright rude sometimes.
You must. I don't know when you're on a bus. What do you do?
Yeah, I share a bus with the Cowsills. I'm around them constantly.
Oh, do you really? Okay.
Yes, we wear each other's pajamas. No, not really. Yeah, I'm with Susan and Bob and Paul.
Oh, no kidding.
We know each other's grandkids and kids and wives, and so at least we know the stories about everything. So yeah, I know the Cowsills very well.
So
Great people. Love them.
Oh, no doubt. You are on the, forgive me, I can't.
The Happy Together tour.
No, the other one as well. Flower
Oh.
Power is what it is.
Flower Power.
No? You do both?
I've done both, and
Okay.
the Malt Shop. I've done them all, yeah.
Okay. And cruises, you like those?
I love the cruises, yeah. They some years you get them, other years you don't. I don't have any cruises this year, but I had 4 last year, and I've got concerts at sea, which is about a year from now, and I'll probably, Malt Shop usually does this every other year, so they didn't do us this year, so I'm going to assume they're going to do us next year. So those, but those are great. Who doesn't want to get on it's like the Love Boat, man.
And those, just the Happy Together, that's got to be what, like 60 cities or something?
Right. Yeah, for 3 months, every single day, different city, and it's with I think this year it's the Turtles, Cowsills, Vogues, Little Anthony, Jay and the Americans, and Mark Lindsay. So everybody becomes friends, man. We get along, and that's critical too, because for the last 5 years it's been us and the Cowsills and the Turtles. And then the other 3 acts change, every year.
Yeah.
But
it's funny, I for some odd reason, I've maybe for the last 3 weeks I've done a lot of interviews, and I'll mention some names. You're probably all friends. Like you mentioned Bob, and I'm like, wow, I just emailed him this afternoon. So recently I've interviewed Tommy James, who no stranger to those tours, Ron Dante.
I love Ron. Great guy.
Isn't he, though? Darren Dowler, and I've forgotten other names. But you know what? What I
Darren's
love
a crazy man.
Is you guys are all not only just a fraternity and friends in the foxhole, but literally genuinely nice people and friends. And I don't sense like a competitive or ego spirit amongst any of them.
No,
I really
not
don't.
at all. We're all in this thing together. The show's got to work. The show's got to be good, and we all have to help each other be good. And we have to, sometimes the travel gets tough, and people are tired, and you got to lift each other up. And the Cowsills are the kings of that. They're always lots of energy there all the time, and always happy. And you come off stage, and they'll have little things that they'll do. Sometimes you come off the stage, and they'll be carrying, or they'll be holding up scores like the judges in the Olympics.
Oh God!
Yeah,
you'll come off.
Yeah, Paul and Susan will give you a 10, and then Bob will have like a 9.5. He'll be the one that's the tough judge. So,
Simon Cowell, right?
Yeah, he's the tough, but only like 9.5. So it's not really bad. It's not, but he's still lower than the other two.
How do you work that out with your family? I mean, you're on the road that long. I mean,
I think they're thrilled when I'm gone.
Oh, you think so? Come on.
I think when I come home, it seems like I disrupt everybody's lives. They've been so used to me not being here. I mean, I miss my family like crazy. That's the hardest part, is being away from everybody. But I have to. It's the only. I have to do this. So they understand that.
Yeah, think back 24 years ago. You've got to be just like, the whole FaceTime thing is a game changer, wouldn't you say?
Oh my gosh! When I was a kid, my dad was on the road. We didn't hear from him sometimes. Maybe 2 days. Now, he would try to always make sure he'd call once a day, but sometimes it just didn't work out.
Sure.
But he would oftentimes call me from a payphone. So I would try to, I'd make sure he'd tell me I'm going to try to call at 10 o'clock or between, 9 and 10, we're going to stop at a truck stop or when we stop for gas or whatever. And that was it. You had to wait for the call, or maybe when he got into a hotel, you'd try to call once a day, but it didn't. And then I would never remember where he was. He could be in Wisconsin, he could be in Georgia. I had no idea. I couldn't remember. Now, yeah, it's great. We can text each other. We can take pictures and send them immediately to each other. Oh man, it has made it easier. That was tough when my dad was gone all the time. I'd forget when he was coming home. I'd hear the garage door open, and I'd think there was like, oh my God, somebody's broken into the house. And they've managed to open our garage door with the remote somehow. Like, how'd they get the remote? And then it was him. Like, I forgot you were coming home tonight.
And they were, well, I mean, it probably at the peak, and they were on the
They
road.
were on the road constantly.
Yeah.
He'd be gone 7 weeks, and then come home for a few days to do laundry, and then leave again. So he missed so many. He missed my high school. He missed football games, basketball games. He missed all that. And that was another thing. So he'd call, to try to get the results of the game. And then I would have to, when you were able to videotape things, he would have me send a videotape of my games ahead to whatever hotel. I remember when they were playing in Atlantic City. They were there for like a month every night. So I would send the videotape of the games, and he got one of the hotel people to bring in like a portable TV that had a VCR attached into his room, so he could watch my games. So that was how he'd watch my football or basketball games or whatever it was.
Speaking of games, do you announce games? I believe
I do.
You do. Tell me about that.
I do basketball. I do basketball and football. I do boys basketball, girls basketball, and football. And Is
it at the school you went to?
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's at our high school here, and I've been doing it for years and years and years. But it's been extra special these last 4 years because my son plays. Oh, he's a senior now, so I've been able to announce, which is a totally different animal when you're announcing a game that your son's playing in, rather than just somebody else's kids. It's
sure.
When they're losing, my wife and everybody tells me, boy, we can tell by the tone of your voice that you're not happy with what's going on. And I don't realize that I do that, and I didn't do it before he played. I just did the game the way you're supposed to do the game. But so that's been a little different than my daughter is a cheerleader. So, so we have and my wife is the cheering coach. So we were like a monopoly
school?
on the whole thing here. Yeah. Where we all went to high school. My wife and I went to high school there. We were high school sweethearts. My parents went to school there. And my grandparents, I should say, went to school there. So we're like 4 generations here.
The blue what?
The Blue Devils.
Blue Devils. All right.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Where does your interest in the gene come for the ability to have a snap mind on sports? Sports.
I don't know.
Sports trivia. When'd you discover that, and how do you make money with it?
You don't make money with it. I figured that out.
Okay. Bar bets? I don't know, something?
I don't know. When I was a kid, my dad would have me I was like a party, like at parties, he would use me as an attraction, and I would give the Pirates starting lineup and everybody's batting average. I was young. I mean, we're talking maybe 6 or 7 years old, and I could give you the entire starting lineup and about what their batting averages were, because they would change daily. And the Steelers, I could do that with the Steelers, who was leading the team in yards, and of course Terry Bradshaw was always leading the team in passing. But I could tell you everybody's numbers, for the Pirates especially. I could tell you everybody's on the team, even the guys on the bench that rarely played, or the 12th pitcher in the bullpen. I knew who they all were, what their faces looked like. I didn't even need to see their numbers. I could see their faces, and I knew right away that's whoever, Grant Jackson, or that's Enrique Romo, or Jim Bibby. I knew all the guys. And so, it was like...
Okay.
No, I was going to say it was like just some like a Rain Man type of thing when it came to mostly Pittsburgh sports, though. So, like, if you're going to ask me about the San Francisco Giants, I mean, I know... I know Willie Mays and Willie McCovey, and I know the names, and Orlando Cepeda and whatever, Juan Marichal, but I knew the Pittsburgh thing specifically. So, and you know what? I used to be able to name all the Super Bowls in order, who won, the score, the losing team, 2 head coaches, and the MVP, and where the game was played.
Oh my God, that is Rain Man. That really is.
And I would blow that, say, that like Super Bowl 20, and I'd say it was the Louisiana Superdome, Chicago Bears 46, the Patriots 10. Mike Ditka was the head coach, and the MVP was Richard Dent. And they would be like, "Wow, that's amazing!"
You should sit around and listen to the radio and call in and win stuff.
I used to, yeah. I don't do that anymore. I used to call in, and I thought, man, I sound like a goofball. Yeah, I'm going to stop doing that. Yeah.
And listen, it has been an absolute joy. Give us some socials. Where do people find the tour schedule? Where do people find out more about you?
Well, the tour schedule for the Happy Together is on our website, www.vogues.com. Not the Vogues, just Vogues. www.vogues.com.
Yep.
The entire Happy Together tour is up there now. There's, I think, 58 dates in about 90 days. They may add, I don't know yet, but those are confirmed. We do have a Facebook, but I'm terrible at this stuff, so
yeah.
I don't know. I don't maintain the Facebook page,
That's
but
right.
there is a Facebook page. So I'm sure if you go on Facebook and search the Vogues,
when
you'll find it.
I will edit this and play it live on the air, and then we will post it on our YouTube page along with all those links. So.
Okay.